Hey there, good evening. It's 9:59 p.m. Okay, like we're 1 minute away from 10 o'clock p.m. basically. And it's April 1st. I have told absolutely no April Fool's jokes. I haven't played any pranks or anything, but hopefully I can come back next year with some bullshit. Hopefully, right? Anyway, I kept myself pretty busy today. I did a lot of thinking about, obviously, this whole issue is always on my mind. But hey, I just want to take a few minutes for just a second and kind of point to this picture of Cabby. I was looking for like I was either going to create just like one little slide to make this video, or I was going to maybe snag something off of like maybe some of those free images or something, like maybe some flowers or something. I'm like, you know what? Let me check what I have on file. And look, I found another picture of my Cabby. Isn't he adorable? He is so adorable. I will tell you, he just makes me feel so much more at peace. Like I feel like more at peace, even though I'm angry about a lot of stuff right now. Which I guess it's understandable. But it's like I've been wanting to get on with my life since 2013. 2013. That's like right after the farmer's place, right? And I was basically drugged through the mud, set up in harassment situations. They even had me going out to Palm Springs, which is like a 3-hour drive from here, I think it was, and 3 hours back. Okay, so I felt like my life was threatened then. At that time. And I just got to tell you, I've had enough. I honestly feel tapped out, and it has really affected my view on the world. It has affected a lot. I mean, because I've been thinking about how long this has been going on. I mean, since childhood, and I've been dealing with negative people all my life. I've mentioned this before, but when you start really looking down the rabbit holes, it literally starts to make you sick. It makes me very sick. I understand that. When I was younger, my father used to have people coming over to the house, and there was this one particular man who used to visit us at Edwards Air Force Base, and he visited us when we lived in Lancaster. I don't remember seeing him after I turned around 6 years old, because I was told from my family during a conversation that this particular person moved to Canada, which I thought was weird, okay? But why? Because, white people love America, so I couldn't imagine like somebody just like picking up and leaving at that time, you know what I mean? So, anyway, and I always thought very well of this person because, I remember the hugs and the big introduction when he would come over, and him insisting on holding me and making sure I gave him a kiss, a peck on the cheek, and he would give me a peck on the cheek. And he really had this shit like he had his shit like played well. I mean, he was an actor. And when you start looking back at this stuff, you're just like, I can't help it. How in the world is a person supposed to make you feel? How is it supposed to make you feel? Okay, it's very disturbing. And then finding all these little weird, um, psychologically damaging type things were played out on me from childhood to adulthood, and it's all linked to the same thing. You know what I mean? You have to understand this is a very normal reaction. It's a very normal reaction for a person to feel this way if they are blessed enough to come to this realization. There are so many people who are beating their heads against the wall, um, taking it out on themselves or whatever, you know what I mean, or just mentally broken. There's some people, and believe me, inside of my heart and my mind, I'm going to tell you, there is nothing left. Meaning, I don't. It's very difficult for me to have emotions for people. That's not to say I have always been the kind of person. If I see somebody's hungry, I feel like emotion for them. But as far as like me being my bubbly self around people, that will never happen again. You know what I mean? I have basically taken a completely different stance. There was a time when I would have been on social media yapping it up to this person, that person. I am very, I mean, people used to think I was standoffish back then, and I was still being very social. At this point in my life, I just feel like, hey, you know what? I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. Um, there's a lot of things. Sincerity in my life is the most important thing. This is one of the reasons why, um, you know, I feel like my word should have value, because I don't say things that I don't mean. Now, when I was younger, I did for several reasons, okay? Because I didn't really know how to manage or understand what was really going on around me when I was growing up. Like, kids would try to bully me, and they did bully me a lot, meaning, like, not so much that it shook me to where I was afraid or fearful of them, but they would create issues for me that would cause me inconveniences. Much like, how people thought it was okay to call me out for a job interview way the fuck out in Palm Springs when I live in Bakersfield, and that's like 3 hours away. And I'm a person who just wants to pick up and move and start over with their life. There are so many people like myself, women who struggle. You know what I mean? And like I said, they're in situations where they're being targeted, where they don't have anyone to trust, and all they want to do is just find, anywhere to settle. And believe me, when I first realized, before I came to the realization that it was this widespread, all I wanted to do was get on with my life. That's all I wanted to do. You know what I mean? What I'm coming to the understanding that this particular person who used to come to my house when I was a child, the man, I understand that he was one of the people who, I guess, um, was a part of me coming around here, me existing. Okay, he probably, the reason why he could sit here and be all friendly and seriously pull off this warm, loving bullshit attitude is because he's one of Mengele's, puppets or whatever. You know, um, like I said, if I've said things that may have offended this group of people who came after me, you got to understand. What this feels like. And if you can't, I don't really think that there is anything to say. I honestly don't feel um, any reason to have any warm feelings towards this group of people. Now, there's certain people within this group that I'm cool with, but I don't want to know the whole story. You know what I mean? It's like this issue to me is so disturbing, and so twisted, but it's opened my eyes on a lot of issues. And, hey, I got Cabby. I sit here and take pictures of Cabby because Cabby at this point is the only fucking person I trust. What does that tell you? Okay. But anyway, I was thinking about a lot of things today. Like I mentioned earlier, I posted my content on Patreon, and I don't want to go into that issue about me struggling to make money, and me being trafficked and all this other stuff, because I uh, I know that I talk about this issue all the time, and I know that the people who came after me, are very resentful that I do talk about it all the time. But I'm going to try to explain how I feel about this issue, and hopefully, because I don't, obviously, there's some people, and this is not me trying to cut people down. This is just how certain people are made. Some people do not have empathy. They have absolutely no empathy. And when you put in this issue of me being a clone, it does make people see you as like some sort of other. Okay, let's just take the race out of the equation for a second. Even if I was just a white clone, okay, I would still experience issues because they still somehow think, well, you're they'll try to find some sort of reason why they let me tell you something. For people who don't have empathy, who initiated all of this, clones and humans, or whatever you want to call it, or people who are naturally born or whatever, they have just like, you know, you're gonna in society, you're gonna have a mixed bag. You're gonna have a shitload of narcissists, a shitload of egotistical people, and you're gonna have a few kind-hearted ones within the group. If you were to compare the percentages somehow, even though there's whatever, you would show that there's a mixed group of people, a diverse group. Now, I'm looking back on some of the kids that I remember when I was going to school, and I now see that some of these kids were clones too. Okay, and some of them were assholes, and you had some of the people who were kind of light and could easily, you know, they were kind of mushy. They were the mushy type. They didn't really have a whole lot of backbone. They were, you know, I wouldn't call them empathetic, but they certainly seemed a little wimpy. Like, you know, kids could easily bully them and they would start crying. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Okay. So you're going to have a mixed bag of people. Or what people call clones, or people who were born in a different manner than, like, you know, the husband or the man and the woman, you know, creating a child on their own or whatever. So it's a form of schoolyard bullying, basically, is what it is. And, you know, yes, I do feel uncomfortable with people pointing me out in the workplace. Okay, I don't, you know, because that falls under the guidelines of harassment. It's uncomfortable, especially when you're talking about somebody who has to make a living. And maybe you guys are thinking, well, we're the people, we're pulled all the strings, and unfortunately, you did. Okay, unfortunately, you did. You pulled all the strings and you literally unravel the threads of my entire fucking life. Okay? And this is the reason why I feel the way that I do. If it's offensive to you, I'm sorry, but it's normal to feel this way. I am 100% well within my right to feel this way. See, when you push or you close access off to certain people, or you prevent them from doing certain things, you know, like, for example, I get the feeling, the intuitive message that there was a certain people within this group wanted me to be a singer. Okay, so why don't you just come up and say, hey, you know what, we want you to sing. Why do you got to play all the bullshit? Now, mind you, I don't want to be a singer. Okay, I don't want to be anywhere or have to be in. I mean, I like making my videos. I don't go out and do things anymore. Okay, my social life is never going to be the same. I am never going to be a person that wants to be around a bunch of people all at the same time. I don't see myself as the kind of person who would want to sing on stage or anything like that. You know what I mean? That would be very awkward for me. I'm somebody who is comfortable behind a little camera, and I would like eventually like to upgrade my equipment. You know what I mean? I want to expand my video making. And because at this point in my life, through all the problems that I went through, it's only natural that I'm going to sit here and pull back from society and definitely not want to be a part of it. Like, I knew when in the beginning, you know, I would say I started taking on this issue of me having a very unhappy look on society as a whole when I was around in eighth grade. Okay, now this is when I was going through. I was, you know, part of the Jehovah's Witness thing. I wasn't actually a former member, but like would go to the meetings and stuff like that. And it wasn't anything, you know. It was just something that I always felt as though when I aligned most people's standards. Okay, now at the time I was basing these standards, and I would say still at this time, if you look at it, I just felt as though people's morals and their ethics never lined up with, how can I say this? Even when their own religions. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, I noticed there was a lot of hypocrisy of people, not just Christians, but people who, just anybody who claim to despise you for something, and then they turn out being something that doesn't even represent what they're saying they are. You know what I mean? I started noticing a lot of that. Obviously, my views on I was starting to notice that I was and realized that, you know, there was a lot of racism going on. So I realized, you know what, people have a certain form of mentality. They think a certain way. And it seems to be, and I was starting to pick up on the fact that it would seem to be very common for people to develop this sort of mentality. And deep inside my heart, I felt it was wrong. I felt it was wrong because I could see that a lot of people were not able to open their eyes and really analyze the situation. What blinded most people was this need to one up. Okay. And I used to wonder, what is one up? Like, why is it that so many people want to, where is it do they want to go? What is so important? Um, or how, what kind of status, what is status? I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I don't understand, because when I look at people who seem to have everything, okay, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think money is important. You got to pay your bills. And this is one of the reasons why I'm pissed off, because, you know, I'm sitting here late on my bills struggling when I've made efforts not to do that. Now, some people can bitch and say, oh, I'm getting off the subject. But okay, whatever. I feel like talking. I'll get off the subject if I want to. It's my channel, whatever. But, you know, they'll penalize you. Um, where was I going with this? I'm so tired. Um, Oh man, I'm like forgetting my train of thought here. I looked out the window and I was like, oh man, I was looking at the kitty crowd across the street and then I completely forgot what I was saying. Anyway, um, I noticed that I didn't want to be like the majority of people. Okay, so yeah, let's get back on that subject. I didn't want to be like the majority of people because I felt as though a lot of people contradicted their belief system and didn't really live the way that they said they were supposed to, but yet they were quick to persecute me. Okay, I didn't like that, but I don't ever recall like being verbal about it. It was just like, you know, I'm slowly, I'm looking back in time and I can see myself in certain situations slowly pulling myself back from people. You know what I mean? I remember there was this girl that used to live in my apartment complex. And, you know, she'd come over every once in a while, you know, and we'd hang out. But when she got a little bit too, like, bossy and pushy and intrusive, that was enough. See, the thing is, like I said, when I was younger, people knew that I was some sort of clone. Okay, they knew I was a clone, but there was clones in the community anyway. Like I said, you know, I don't recall a Hitler clone boy having any problems. I don't recall him dealing with any sort of abuse. You know what I mean? Because obviously I was in an environment that had some serious problems. Okay, and I've suffered for years for this bullshit over and over and over again. So where I was going to with this, like I said, I've been on the computer working all day. Okay, so I'm exhausted. So if I get a little bit like, you know, distracted, please forgive me for jumping the subject. But anyway, you know, and so, you know, this is my belief system. And, you know, you run up against people who are trying to force you into something that I can't stomach society. I can't stomach it. And this is one of the reasons why I did like the Jehovah's Witness faith. One of the reasons why. Because they took that stance on not being a part of the world. They understood that they are in the world, but they don't want to be a part of it. Meaning, and I agree with that. Still to this day, I totally agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, you know, I still got to pay the fucking IRS, which they really, you know, and yes, I will pay them. If I get my money, I need money. Okay, they put me in this situation all the time. You guys, I'm addressing you guys. Okay, you know who I'm talking about. I get put in these situations all the time, and I'm the one who suffers. I'm the one who suffers. Why is it that I'm always the one who suffers? Oh, I'm sorry, because you have privileges, right? You feel as though it's okay to abuse me. One day, people are going to look back and remember what you did. Okay? What you do in this world matters, especially when you're in a position of power. Now, anyway, I'm not. Now I feel like I'm just stepping a little bit over the line because I don't want to go off right now. But I'm starting to get a little bit angry, so let me change the subject a little bit. Anyway, when I'm dealing with you know, people who, if they wanted me to be a singer, it didn't have to go through this person, that person, this person, that person. It's always this form of manipulation. And this form of manipulation tears people apart. Okay, which, you know, it didn't really take much to tear me apart from my ex-family, either whether that be my blood relations or the people who adopted me, because there was no love bond there. Okay, now I am all about love. Like, people would think that I'm not, but I am. But I'm not in it in the way that most people think. My standards are entirely too high. They are entirely too high. Because if you care about something, you would not abuse it. When you do that sort of stuff, that sort of manipulation using puppet to get to one other person, to whatever, the psychological damage is real. Okay? The psychological damage is very real. Okay? And you will never trust another human being again. And people can use the excuse of, well, so-and-so told me and he was so famous and so powerful, I couldn't help it, but you fucking goddamn enjoyed it. This issue to me is so, it gets people in a situation where they can't deny what they did. Okay. This was played out in front of everyone. I don't exactly know how that works because I don't join like chat groups. I don't have a large circle of friends, so I'm never in the in crowd. I'm always the conversation of the in crowd instead. So I don't know exactly how that works. It could work on the dark web. It could work on maybe something like Facebook. I know that I was targeted on Facebook before. Okay, but I understand people are a little bit tripped out about, my DNA, and I find it kind of a trip too. But I remember reading many years ago about the different races and where they had come from and everything. And at the time, because, look, at the time when I first read that sort of stuff, I found it fascinating. But like I said, I never knew that I was whatever. How can I say this? um, Like I said, I mentioned that other races are from different places as well. Okay. There's one family, I forgot what their last name is. They're an Asian family. I'm not going to mention names in here, so I'm not going to go there. But anyway, when you think about certain people's origins, okay, when you think about origins of people, and some people have what they call their origins come directly from gods, people who had certain powers, okay? And all these different races have certain powers. Some people have like heightened, what do you call it, psychic awareness. Some people have the ability to, I don't know, I've heard some people have the ability to shapeshift or whatever, okay? Everybody has something about them, okay? And I personally starting to see that there's certain groups of people who are able to feel empathy, and some don't have any concept of it. You know what I mean? Let me get some water really quick. Sorry, I am like always thirsty. Anyway, I thought that I was thinking so much, like going back in time today about, when I first came to the realization that I was the reincarnation of Prince Alame, who at that time I would say that I was already disgusted with the issues of my ex-family. I was disturbed at the employment sector. I was angry because my life had been wasted for shit that literally blew my mind. Like, I seriously thought that this was only about my family. What I don't know if my family was bullying me because maybe they were trying to make me miss out on the opportunity of being a singer. If that is the case, I still hate you anyway, but I would look at that as a blessing because I don't want to be a singer. There's nothing wrong with it. There's so many singers that I admire. I mean, obviously, I think I've made that well known. Just that, I as a 53-year-old woman don't see that as something I would really want to do. And also the fact that I've dealt with so much psychological trauma in the presence of so many people that I don't think that that's possible. You know, this the system, the way that you guys do things is very damaging to people, extremely damaging to people. And you cannot expect people to be normal after that happens. So now you know, okay, and if you do it again, well, then we know that which you really are, because it's wrong, okay? It's very wrong to do something like that to a person. Um, and then, you know, I never had anyone that I could really talk to about it. It's one of the reasons why I made this channel, you know, which was originally for TIs, and then I found out, okay, so there's some celebrities in my this little soul tribe thing that I got going. But I will say that there was a time where I would have liked to have been a celebrity. I think when I was a kid, I used to have those little fantasies. But then again, you know, I wanted to be a scientist, and I wanted to be a this, and there were so many things I wanted to be. And I know that a lot of people, as much as I might have been hated by a lot of these white people, they themselves would even admit at times that they thought that I had potential to do this, and this. So I, hang on a second. So I'm not, you know, I'm not surprised. You know, I was thinking today also about, you know, there was this mad hunt for me in the work sector. You know, like I said, I came down to Bakersfield because it was one of the most uneducated places, and it was the cheapest place back in the day. Back in the day, like, you could rent an apartment for like $400 and stuff. Like, can you imagine? That sounds so unreal to a lot of people, you know? But of course, cost of rent just went like crazy. But back in the 90s, I'm telling you, it was pretty darn good back then. And I came down here because I knew that I could easily do well. You know, and if let's just say, for example, the employment sector wasn't corrupt. Okay, can you imagine that? And let's just say, for example, that this town at the time wasn't as, you know, racist as it was, okay? Logically, if the employment sector worked the way it should, based on my interpersonal skills, based on, I used to like put my resumes together so well. I was like the resume master. I actually thought about doing people's resume on the side. That's how fucking good my resume was. I would say after the last few years of being targeted, I didn't put that much effort into my resume, but I was just like so spot on with everything. If it worked the way it's legally supposed to work, why wouldn't I have been comfortable? Meaning, I don't think I would have made a shitload of money, but I would have been able to have at least stability. I would have at least been able to go to a job every day and not have to worry about working here 2 years and then some bullshit happens or whatever. Okay. That's the way employment's supposed to work. Surprise, surprise, it's completely manipulated. Okay, I had no idea. And see, a lot of other people who were around me thought that that was normal. They thought it was okay. Well, this person, it's okay for them to be doing this. No, technically, legally, no, it is not. It is not. So I ended up being traumatized, and no one wanted to listen to me. No one wanted to listen to me. This is the issue of my ex-family seeing me as a clone. Oh, she doesn't really have any feelings. Or they think that you're naive and you don't know how the world works. This is the funny part. They sit there and think that you're naive and you don't know how the world works, and they want to teach you something. Hey, believe me, I do believe that there are certain people who can teach me something. I'm not arrogant. I'm not, okay? But I also have been observing the world for a very long time. Very long time. And I know what I believe in, and I understand that my beliefs do align with the law. And I knew what they were doing was wrong. What you guys did was wrong. Family included. Ex-family, whatever. I mean, I know you guys watch my videos, even though the numbers don't actually indicate that. I know that you do. And, you know, it's shocking to me that something like this could happen. And why did other people get involved? Like I said, if they wanted me to be a singer, why all the drama? Why so much drama? When you came into my town and started like turning my life upside down and basically terrorizing me, why? Why? What was the trigger? Is it because, um, oh, okay. See, now this issue is so big, right? This issue to me is so big that sometimes I have to go all the way back to the very beginning because I keep thinking, okay, I was targeted for the excuse of my religion, you know what I mean? And why does that matter? Oh, okay. I have to keep remembering. Okay, yeah, the religion thing. People didn't like the fact that I like my earthy shit. You know what I mean? I like my incense. I like my candles. This is the kind of stuff I'm into. I was never, and I'm going to tell you this one more time, okay? My parents took me to, actually, my dad really never took me to, but I remember there were some people who came around back in the 70s. It was like when I was in kindergarten or first grade, somewhere around there. And they would come around the neighborhood and ask you, do they want to go to church, right? And I remember my parents sending us to Olivet Baptist Church for a while. I remember telling you guys that I went to this little, the little nursery room part of the church, and I was like, I want to see people get baptized. I want to go to the adult section, whatever. We did go to church for a little bit, okay? But my parents never made church mandatory. Never. Ever. My parents said, okay, they told us that there was so many different religions in the world, okay, and my mom believed this too, okay, even though my mom was her view on death was like, my mom believed that you just rot in a box and that was all there really was to it, but she did say, hey, there was a lot of different religions in the world, and she felt as though it was offensive to people when you told them what they're supposed to think and how you're, and I agreed with that, and my father thought that too. Now if it was his duty to raise me up as some sort of like church going person, well, they didn't, okay, and so I think they wanted to use that as an excuse. The only person who was like really into the church, the only Aunt Esther that we had in the family at that time, in my adoptive family, would be Tanya. Tanya was the little Miss Holy Roller, and she was a fake Holy Roller. What Tanya liked about her church is that it gave her favors. Okay, it was her little network. Those are her friends. You know what I mean? Or her puppet masters, I should say. Okay, people who basically told Tanya what to do, bullied her, because she was probably targeted at her church. I don't know what the hell, but because they were probably following her around, or she was a part of it. I don't know how that works, but Tanya was severely brainwashed. Okay, and but I never knew that she was like some sort of like agent or something. I don't want to see Tanya again. Okay, and I don't care what the excuse is. If I saw her dying out in the street, I feel as though that is my responsibility to let her die in the street. That would be disrespecting myself to save her goddamn life. She's caused me nothing but problems with her stupid, insecurities, dragging me into her problems. Like that, she should have never laid that shit on me, ever. And if she thought that there was important people around me and she felt as though I needed to, like, get in line or whatever, she should have pulled me aside and told me that. But see, that's not her responsibility. And why? Because her responsibility to me was not to be a protective sister. Her responsibility to me was to be a fucking goddamn Judas, is what she was supposed to do. Okay? And that was by design. See, because I was raised in a family where my family was being a part of an experiment, and I was the experiment, basically. And I was treated like it, like some sort of fucking specimen under some sort of like lab microscope or whatever. So, um, so yeah, that's basically how it is with me, and and the psychological abuse of it, I don't even know what to say. I know that all I knew was when I was dealing with this, before I came to the realization that celebrities were involved, or the people in England were literally, I was already freaked out. I was already disturbed there. I was disturbed before I found out that I was adopted. I was disturbed that somebody will come into my workplace and have no regard for me having to survive, me having to be able to pay my bills, me being able to have put a roof over my head, me being able to take care of my kid. Like, literally nobody gave a shit about wrecking my life. Nobody deserves to be forgiven for that. They don't. Okay? No matter what. If my sister Tanya's dead, which she could possibly be, then she deserves to be. If that sounds harsh, well, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you. That's the way it is. You know what I mean? There's certain things, like I said, I can forgive, but those are certain things that I look at as like deliberately. You knew what you were doing. I don't care who was involved. If she were, how could she? I don't know. I don't know how anybody can do that because I don't have that kind of heart. And see, I understand like what love is, and this is one of the reasons why my family doesn't. They don't measure up. They don't measure up. Neither family does. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be associated with any of these people, adopted or whatever. You know what I mean? Um, so it's a shame because, like, I am a very faithful person. You know what I mean? And I know how to be loyal, but I get shit. You know what I mean? Because my standards are high. Because I don't want to associate with garbage. Because I refuse to be around trash. You know what I mean? Or emulate trash. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm trying really hard. I've tried in my life to find the right people. And I'm sure, I get on Instagram and Facebook, but I haven't really been on it or anything. At this point, I really don't want to deal with anyone right now. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just that right now, this is how I feel. You know what I mean? And I'll come around when I got to. But right now, my only concern is I need to make money. That's it. You know what I mean? And for anyone to think that I would be concerned about anything else other than that at this point isn't absurd. I'm not being, please do not think that I'm trying to be offensive, but my survival right now is, I don't want to be like talking and having people grin in my face or pretend that they don't know what's going on and or that sort of stuff because I really that is pushing my buttons. And I'm just being upfront and saying it because I really want to make sure that I actually am friends with these people instead of some sort of puppeteer game. I can't deal with that. So please understand. If I don't respond to you right away, it's nothing personal. It really isn't. Just that my top priority right now is making money and getting on with my life. I don't want to see or talk really to anyone until that happens. That should have happened a long time fucking ago. A long time ago. I'm not trying to be difficult. It's reasonable. Okay. And the more I think about it, it was reasonable when I left the farmer's place. No, it was reasonable. Wait, hold up. It was reasonable when I left Karen's place. Okay. It was reasonable when I left the farmer's place. It was reasonable after all of the shit that these people caused me and threw me out of the workforce, when they set up a stupid, in job interview, like 3 hours away, back and forth, knowing I hardly had any money because I wasn't working. So I had to spend money on gas. Okay. These people, to me, I don't care who you are, but you're malicious and something is wrong with you. Okay. And that's just the way it is. And I'm saying it because you cannot do this to a human being and expect them to be okay with it. And then take your time playing with their emotions and feelings and everything else when it comes to their survival after they've given you a deadline and think that it's okay. It's not fucking okay. I'm just saying. Okay? That it should be completely understandable how I feel. Now, what other messages did I have? Because I was writing down some stuff today. And I know that, a lot of people were like pissed off and bullying me and talking about me not having a bachelor's degree. Let me explain something. I had mentioned that I had left school when I was younger because of the bullying. And I did. I did leave school when I was younger. And these people followed me every fucking where. And every time I tried to do anything, they were there. Um, so life is what it is, okay? But I was thinking about the education system today. Hang on, I'm getting dehydrated again. Sorry. I was thinking about the education system today, and I was like, I need to pull a list, right? Because I don't know how the education system is now, because my son's grown. He's like 30 years old, right? So obviously, I know very little about what's being taught, the curriculums and stuff like that. I don't know. But I have always thought, even when I was like in the fifth grade, I kept thinking, how is it, why I had already started noticing, like in adults even, how I didn't really believe that most people were educated. I don't believe they are. But anyway, I realized that in fifth grade, right? I realized already that that anything that people go to school for, you can learn on your own. Yeah, you can. All a person really needs, and I know people want to get pissed off at this because well, they put me in this situation to where I have to explain myself anyway, so I'm going to explain myself. Um, as long as the first thing I think a person needs to do is they need to have good reading comprehension skills. That's the number one thing, okay? A lot of people read, but they might be pronouncing the words phonetically in their mind, but when you ask them what did they read and what did it mean, they are unable to provide feedback. That's a person who lacks comprehension skills. As long as a person has good reading comprehension skills, okay, then they should be able to follow instructions. It's that simple. Okay? But I know they try to make it seem more complex than it really is, but it is that simple. They convince other people that they need this, they need that, they need this, they need that. In reality, no, they don't. They don't. And when they do get it, most of the people either forget it or they weren't paying attention in the first place. I'm just telling you, okay? But it's true. And you can look around and you can see it for yourself. Um, I personally think if I am not into politics or anything like that. And I'm glad that I'm not. But if I was somebody like on some sort of board or committee or had the ability to make those sort of decisions, right? I would do the first thing I would do away with is the school system. I would do away with it. You know why I would do away with it? Because I believe that it stagnates people. Stagnates a lot of people. Now, I'll give you an example. Now, I remember saying that my son was reading when he was 3 years old, right? He was 3 years old when he was reading. And that seems impressive to a lot of people, but I've heard a lot of other people say the same thing about their kid. Their kid can learn to read too. It's all about how you teach them, right? I taught my kid how to say the alphabet phonetically. Instead of saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I was pronouncing abacadabra, that way, and teaching it to them that way. And he picked up on it. And I remember we went to visit his father in San Francisco back in the 90s, and I was like stuck. I was starting to freak out in traffic. I think I went down this one-way road, and I really shouldn't have done that. So I started panicking or whatever. I'm like, "What the fuck am I?" And my son's like, "We're in California." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he points to the sign. He's like, "We're in California." I'm like, he gets it. He reads, right? That's what I'm like. Oh my gosh, my son's reading. Okay, because it all came together for him. And the same method is when it comes to phonics. If a person's able to comprehend what they read, then they should be able to teach themselves anything. It really is, it's just that simple. And it seems as though the way the system is set up is that it just slows people down. Now, I remember when I was getting bullied in high school, um, and I was getting bullied. People would just like kind of be snooty to me and just like, say a bunch of rude shit. It always made me feel unwelcome. And that was just, and they loved doing it. Such assholes. But anyway, I remember I would ditch school a lot, right? Because it's down there, and I would go to like the thrift stores and hang out and whatever. And so like the next day I'd come in and I would try to catch up. Like, what did I miss? And so it was like, what I noticed in the school system, at least when I was there, the school system was repetitive. Like, for example, the English classes, since eighth grade, like we started dissecting sentences. You remember how you used to like put them in little boxes, like, okay, put the verb here and the pronoun here, put the action verb here, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, I'm in 11th grade and people are still doing that. It's like I felt as though the English lessons were the same thing over and over and over again, when in fact they should be putting the English language. I'm not saying diagramming sentences and understanding proper English, the way to speak properly, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I fully understand that. But that is, in actuality, when you really think about it, those sort of skills of speaking, you should have a full vocabulary by the time you are in sixth grade, if your reading comprehension skills are up to par. Seriously. Okay. So for a lot of people, school is, I remember I coming back to school like after I ditched in high school, and I'd be like, oh my God, what did I miss? Oh, we did diagramming sentences again. Oh, we did that again? Really? No, I was thinking today, like if I had the ability to reshape the school system, I would design it completely different. Why? Because a lot of kids do get stagnated. Not just me, not just me, not just, other kids. I mean, I've heard of a lot of other kids, not just me. So sometimes people take their kids out of the school system. You know what I mean? And I know, I would think that after, okay, there's a lot of lessons that kids could learn earlier than what they wait for to learn in high school, at least based on the curriculum that I had back then. Okay, they could do that. You know what I mean? For kids who have the good reading comprehension skills. And for kids who don't, I don't know, they would probably need some sort of additional help in some way. But I was just thinking, because life is short. And I think about a lot of people who spend a lot of money on college, they spend a lot of time on college, and they're not getting any guarantees back. Okay, there's no guarantee that you're going to get that job. It's kind of a gamble for a lot of people. Even people who get like grants and stuff like that, that's great, but you still put your time in it. Are you guaranteed anything? That's what I'm thinking. So the average person, they're 18 years old, they graduate from high school, they spend, okay, at least 4 years of college, okay? Then they have to pay back the debt. And then they usually start off with making basically nothing. And that's already a good portion of their life. If I was to set up a different school system design, which I'm not going to, it doesn't interest me that much. It was a passing thought. That's all it was. But if I was to set up a different school set design, like where kids would like, they should have all the formal shit, all the important things. The reading comprehension skills should be up to par by the time they're, I would say, fourth grade. By sixth grade, it should be like right there. They should be reading, I would say, books that people are now reading in college and fully understanding it. And then after that point, by the time they get to eighth grade, right, then all the other classes that they should be taking should be relating to what they should be doing, or what they think they should be doing, or at least considering to be doing as a career. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, like in their elementary school years, they would be slowly incorporating what they learn into everyday skills. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, how do you reinforce the understanding of things like fractions, right? Like a lot of boys take things like wood shop. They have to work with fractions, right? Same thing with women who used to sew. Like back in the they don't have, what do you call it, home economics and shit like that. But still, it's the reinforcement. It's the actual making sure that these sort of skills are being put to use, working alongside of it every day instead of learning it and fucking forgetting it. It should be a combination of both. The knowledge and putting it to action at the same time, consistently throughout the course. That way it's not like, oh, I forgot that. No, you ain't forgetting it because you've already done it over and over and over again. It's a part of your daily life. It's a part of your daily fucking routine. You see what I'm saying? I see things different. I'm more of a visionary type person, okay? If that offends people, I'm sorry. But this is how I am. You know what I mean? Um, But like I said, I didn't know that the employment sector was manipulated, and technically it shouldn't be. I wasn't trying to be rebellious. Oh, I was going into the story about me being rebellious earlier, but of course I veered off into the other direction. That's one of the reasons why I follow scripts, okay? Because if I don't follow a script, everything that I'm saying is going to remind me of this and this and this and this and this, and then I'm just going to get lost in it, okay? But I remember when I was working over at Karen's place. Um, I was, I changed my hairstyle, right? So the guy comes over, because he must have been one of the perps, right? He must have been in on it. He comes up to me, he's like, what are you doing rebelling? Fuck you, asshole. I am not rebelling. I don't have to ask anybody what I want to fucking goddamn do with my hair. That goes all the way up the chain. Who told you to say it, motherfucker? Don't ever, ever ask me or tell me that I'm rebelling. I have every fucking right to do what I want to with my hair. Okay? But see, they look at you as rebelling, which means that they look at you as somebody who doesn't have any fucking right, any fucking say so. They don't care about you. They treat you like you're a fucking goddamn child. I was like in my 30s when he said this. Okay? It's been years since then, and it still pisses me off. Okay? It's bullshit. So anyway, what other message should I get? Anyway, oh yeah, the whole issue of me being a gender bender when I was my past life. That I don't think I was like a flamboyant person. Like what I mean by that is like it's just me. That's just how I am. You know what I mean? If I like something, I feel like isn't that what you're supposed to do? That's what people tell you you're supposed to do. But like I said, once you start doing things and going after things you're supposed to do, when they encourage you to do it, then people got a problem with it, right? Well, whatever. It is what it is. I don't really know everything about my past life, and for the last few days, I've been kind of putting all that. When I do use my divination cards, it's not so much relating to past lives at this moment. I'm like, I pulled them out today because I was interested in what's going on with the Patreon thing. But I'm getting burnout on the past life thing. It is interesting, don't get me wrong. It's interesting. It would be more interesting if that shit was happening to somebody else. Because quite frankly, I'm getting tired of it. Like it kind of pisses me off, and it just reinforces the feeling of my hatred towards people. Because when I think about the abuse that this poor person went through, when I think about Prince Alamehu, it's sad from the get-go. It's very sad from the get-go. You know what I mean? And then him changing to CB, and then him killing himself, and then me being able to have a second chance at it, and then somebody just fucking plowing over my shit without feeling any fucking bit of remorse. Because they can't, because it's not possible for them. You know? I don't care really how they feel about me. All I care about is getting what is coming to me, which rightfully should be coming to me. I don't want to interact with any of these people. I'm freaked the fuck out. You know, it's sad, really. You know, but anyway, I just rant on. I must need to have one of those like chit chat things. I do want to have a cake party too. There's so many party themes that I want to do. You know what I mean? And it's like I feel like I never ever get to be around the right people. I'm always around like spies, and it's sad. Anyway, what other message should I have? Oh yeah, I was thinking about the white flight. Me not getting credit for things that I do because they're, they're concerned about, it's always a game to these people. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in for a game. I remember when I was working, and it was just really gross convalescent hospital. It was so sick. But this lady was sitting here like, I do now realize that when she was talking to me, I was like maybe 19 years old. But I now realize that she must have realized that I was that clone, okay? But at the time I didn't realize. But she was trying to encourage me to be proud of who I was, because she thought that I was a very well-spoken black woman, and she liked the way that I behaved and everything, and she's like, you're a credit to your race and all this other stuff. I never looked at it that way. I honestly, like when I used to want to do certain things, I never kept thinking like, okay, like when I wanted to be an accountant, there was a time where I wanted to be an accountant. I felt as though I had the ability to grasp it, so why shouldn't I go for it? And since I was already in that field, I was going to do it. But anyway, I never thought in my mind that, oh, I want to be the first black accountant in my family. I never thought that. I just needed a fucking job. Consistently. Okay? But I bet you a racist person is sitting here thinking about you being a black accountant. Oh, yeah, they are. And like I said, I don't understand. What does the winner get in this world? What do you win in the world? What's the big prize? Like I said, I'm so disgusted by everything that's gone on in this world and the fucking sick standards of humans that I can't even fucking stand it. I don't understand what the big race is or what the prize is. What is the fucking prize? I don't understand what that is. Is it that you get to socialize with other people that are just as like you, or what? What is it? Because honestly, in my mind, I don't think anything compares to my spiritual life. And it really doesn't. I honestly can tell you that I find nothing good in this world. Very little outside of myself. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like, I'm not saying, oh, I'm so good. I'm just saying is I only enjoy my own time. Because everyone I've ever encountered was an asshole. Just telling the truth. Just telling the truth. Anyway, I got one more thing I want to say here. Let me read it. Oh, yeah. I think they do realize that. I get the message that they do realize that they shouldn't have taken me in the first place. But I don't want to go too much into that, but they shouldn't have. They really shouldn't have. I think this whole thing is so weird. You know what else I was thinking that came across my mind? I don't know if, like, my old friend, she was probably a spy too. And see that, I'm going to tell you right now, when you use other people to get to other people, I loved Amanda. Okay. And it's sad that I have to cut her out of my memory, but I will cut her out of my memory if I have to. But if she was a fucking spy, I'm going to have to forget her. But that's not my point. My point is that this is my demonstration of brainwashing. Um, if Amanda, while we were friends, knew that I was a clone of Prince Alamehu, because I don't know if she knew that or not. She may have knew I was a clone, but did she know that Prince... I don't know. I'm going to have to do some reading on it, meditating on it, probably just meditating on it. I don't want to pull the cards out too much, but I want to know, because if she knew that I was a reincarnated person, right? If she knew that I was a reincarnated person, how is it that she could believe in her religion when she sees something completely contrary to what her religion tells her? How does that work? You know what I mean? I don't know. I think a lot about stuff like that, But I do want to socialize eventually. But like I said, I'm not socializing until I get paid. I'm in a grumpy mood. I have every right to be in a grumpy mood. It's been 134 years, okay? that all I've dealt with misery. I didn't deserve it. I will never sit here and claim it. I will never say for 1 second. Oh, yeah, the other message I got, and I mentioned this earlier, was about how surprise, surprise, these people didn't realize that America, the same country that made it a point to distance themselves from the other country, they didn't know. This is the whole reason why they distanced. They didn't want that sort of control. Um, I think that's it. I think I'm done with all my messages tonight. And thank you for listening to my rambling. You know, this is the only form of therapy that I have. But for the people who got involved in this, I mean, I know you guys have that Joseph Mengele sickness in you, but it's not appropriate. Okay. I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I hope that you all liked Cabby's little picture. Isn't he cute? He's adorable. Good night.